Never mind, that wasn't recording. But we are now. Yes, we are. So, art composition. Hi guys. I failed. I had a plan. I revealed a plan. The plan did not work. But I faced my failure and I'm okay now. And that's the last time I'm gonna talk about it in this video. Maybe I'll approach it some other time and talk about failure in a more general terms. But for now, the topic of this video is art composition, or specifically 5 interesting things that I found whilst researching said art composition. If you can hear that, that's my dog eating bone. This is the quietest she's been all day, so you know, we're gonna have to put up with it because we've got beautiful light and my lamp is broken, so it's now or never. Composition is something I have just guessed, and so I took this opportunity and looked into it, and there's a lot and I am not done learning about it, but I've made some interesting observations along the way that I would like to share with you. So without further ado, as most of the world is donning on sweaters and getting cozy with pumpkin spice lattes and dark academia vibes, here in the Southern Hemisphere the spring has sprung. With it the promise of new, and as a response to that, I'm determined to renew my learning efforts to become a better artist. So I'm going back to the basics, which implies I ever had the basics down, and that's not true. I ignored many in pursuit of creating only what I felt I could, and so I'm on a quest to fix that. And as mentioned before, the first item on my list is art composition. And the first interesting thing that I found out is, well, shapes create powerful compositions. I don't know about you, but I have before heard about use of triangles and other shapes in art, with examples shown of classical works like these, with triangles overlaid, similar to this. And I sort of got it, but not entirely. Not until I have watched a video about the comic book art and the power of the triangle became so very obvious to me. I think we, definitely me, absorb things through familiarity, and I don't know about you, but this is exactly the same thing. Far more obvious, and I am likely to get into trouble, but just in case you somehow are not seeing it, there you are. If I ever become monetized, these images will have to be replaced, because copyright is no joke. Consider this a PSA. With PSA done, we are over to our second point, which is the rules are same across all the art styles. Having consumed quite a bit of information about composition, it is quite obvious that it doesn't matter whether it's a loose watercolor, classical oil painting, comic book art, or a photograph. The rules, they're the same. We have the rule of thirds, the golden ratio, the rule of odds. There is movement and balance and so on, and I'm not here to talk about that. I will link videos I mentioned down below if you're interested. What I want to talk about is how Jenna Rainey talks about working from large objects first, placing them off-center and creating a focal point. Off-center focal point is discussed by Florent Farges in relation to oil painting. He then talks about the rule of thirds, which is where the structure of the painting is created using a 3x3 grid, placing objects of interest on the axis. And that is the same principle that David Finch talks about in relation to comic book art. David then talks about the diagonal lines of movement that create dynamic pictures, which is exactly what Jenna says about the zigzag arrangement of the supporting flowers in her composition. Of course, there are far more similarities than this, but hopefully you get the idea from this little circle of composition. And again, I will include all the links to the videos I mentioned below. The similarities do not stop at just visual arts, and that brings us to my third interesting observation. The rules transcend art forms. And what I mean by that is that there are similar rules in other non-visual art forms, like music and poetry. And that the basis of this similarity is, first of all, math. It's no news to anyone, I hope, that math is the basis of everything. Being a touch dramatical, without math, we're nothing. Musical composition also has the rule of thirds and also relies on the odd numbers and, of course, the golden rule, also known as, and I'm going to butcher this, the Fibonacci sequence. And I do want to explain that one real quick because, well, it'll help with the musical point. I'm sure if you know nothing about Fibonacci sequence, you still know it has something to do with spirals. Mathematically, the sequence goes 0 plus 1 equals 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Add the 2 together, 3. Add the 2 together, 5. And so on and so forth until eternity. That's the sequence. The Fibonacci number is 1 number divided by its predecessor, which is usually about 1.6, with a few exceptions. At this point, you might be thinking, Ina, enough with the numbers. What do they have to do with art, or music, or spirals? Allow me to demonstrate very crudely and not to scale, but we have our ones that make up 2, which makes up 3, which makes up 5, which in turn makes up 8, and so on and so forth until eternity. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. I have places to be and things to do. But that's how we get our spiral. Here's a quick demonstration of how it is used to compose a painting. So, in music, we have notes. For example, a piano has black keys and white keys. 5 black keys and 8 white keys together make up, 13? 13 keys or notes together make up an octave. Beyond maths, music and musical composition, just like a painting, is telling a story through focal points, rhythm, balance, and same goes for poetry. Poetry requires rhythm and storytelling, but the most obvious example is haiku. And I'm going back to maths again because haiku is a poem of 3 lines, where the first line is 5 syllables, second line is 7 syllables, and the third line is 5 syllables again. And here we go with the odd numbers again. Go figure. And of course, I had to write a haiku for this occasion, and here it is. Composition. It is the same in art and also music. Not gonna lie, kind of proud of this one. Next observation is also true across all art forms, and that is, rules are there to be broken. I'm sure someone will disagree, but they're wrong. The best song in the world is Bohemian Rhapsody. Fight me. This song does not follow the structure. It has no chorus or verses. It's a number of different genres stitched together, and it works. Yeah! Bloody damn well. Now the trick with breaking the rules successfully is knowing what you are breaking and doing it on purpose and for purpose. Breaking rules in art is important because that leads to a new form of art and expression. Bohemian Rhapsody is known as progressive rock because, well, there is no progress in following the rules. And that is why artists like Picasso are so highly regarded, despite their personal shortcomings. And my final interesting observation is that you are probably already following the rules. Go and have a look at some of your works, but those that you think are successful, why do you think that is? What's working? I did this for a couple of mine, and this is what I found. Pretty obvious. There are 3 flowers, so it's the rule of odds and the rule of center. I think it would have worked better if only one of them was more focused than the other 2, but apart from that, the contrast works well and creates depth. Now this painting, see what happens when I apply the grid. Her face, and specifically the eyes, are exactly on the axis. Now, I knew nothing about rule of thirds when I painted this. So what I can deduct from this is that even though all these rules are based in mathematics, they are intuitive. So what I'm trying to say here is go forth and create and don't overthink it. Of course, it can be interesting to look into things in a lot more detail and try and work out why something isn't working or why something is working, or maybe try and take it to the next level. But for me personally, I would like to concentrate on the practical side of my art for my development. Theory was fun, but I just want to paint now. So I'm going to leave you with this little painting that I did. I made a plan. The plan didn't work, and I changed direction, and it paid off. So don't overthink it, and don't be scared to change direction. Once again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hopefully see you next week.